All right, welcome to The Blueprint. I am so excited to be here with Aubrey from State Farm, and we're going to hear about her in a little bit. But today's episode, and I love this topic with you, is maintaining morale, showing appreciation for your employees. So when we came up with this as an episode choice, we were so excited, and I knew that you would be a perfect person. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. So Aubrey, take it away, share a little bit about what you do, and then we'll jump in.
Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here today. So as she mentioned, I am a State Farm agent. I've been with State Farm for 14 years, been an agent for 5. And really my team and I focus on having really great, meaningful conversations with our customers, getting to know them a little bit better so that way we can make sure we're protecting all of their assets, whether that's them as a person or them as a business entity. We're there to help with all of it. So
I love it.
Yeah.
And I sent you on Instagram the other day. We were driving down Manheim Pike and I saw your billboard and I was like, I'm going to take a picture of it for her.
Thank you. Because you never know when I'm going to pop up.
You never know. You never know. There's our State Farm agent.
Yep, that's so true.
I love it. All right. Well, let's jump into a little bit about morale. And you have, how many team members do you have on your staff right now?
So right now I have 2 full-time and then I have 3 part-time and a college intern right now.
Oh,
yeah. So we've got a great team and we are looking to grow. So we're very excited for that opportunity.
I love that. So really, we're going to jump in. And I know that you work in an office that is largely female. I also work in an office that is largely female. So there's even some dynamics we're going to kind of get in that space too, and how to work with all different personality types, how to work with all different learning styles, all that great stuff. So when you hear the word morale, what does that really mean to you in a business setting?
Yeah. For me, it really comes down to how's my team and how are they doing? So it's that, how are they motivated? Are they feeling good about what's going on in the business? Are they being productive? That's a lot of what morale feels like. We work in intangibles in insurance. And so morale is an intangible, but somewhat still palpable. Like you can tell when somebody's not feeling the energy levels down, if they're really struggling with what's going on, or if they're doing well and they're really excited. So it's morale. It's multifaceted, but it really brings a lot of different areas together that lets me really get to have fun as a leader to help build that morale.
I love that. So what actually happens inside a company when the morale is low?
I think there's a couple things that happen. So you can kind of get a tip off that something's going on with morale. Sometimes it's just the attitude. When somebody's coming in and their demeanor's off, they don't seem like themselves, what's going on? It can also be that productivity is low. Or there could be a big change coming and the team doesn't necessarily feel like they have all the information they need. So you can sense like there's some uneasiness. Mm-hmm. And so it really comes down to if it's a team thing, you can tell, or if it's an individual thing that you can really tell. And what can happen is if it's the individual, that can really influence the rest of your team.
Yeah.
Your team's a little bit larger than me.
Yeah.
So it's definitely one of those things that if you have somebody who's struggling with that morale issue, you don't want to let it fester. You want to be able to address it quickly because you want to make sure, number one, that they're enjoying working there and that there's concerns that are being addressed.
Right.
And making sure that it's not spreading throughout the entire team.
Right.
And if it's a team issue, there's another way to approach that.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times when morale is low, being a smaller office at first and growing to a bigger office, there has been growing pains with that.
Yep.
There has been kind of reallocating roles, workflows, a lot of that stuff. And sometimes having to pause and be like, okay, have I as the leader given them everything they need to know in a way that they receive the information? And how do I address changes that need to keep happening, but making sure that I'm giving them a clear path to run on? And I think for us too, from a morale perspective, I don't know if necessarily directly morale, but one of the things we learned as we were going through and doing our handbook was figuring out that morale sometimes is affected because they just don't feel like they have the information they need.
Yep.
Or they feel like they're trying to reach an expectation that they're unaware of, and then how does that affect things because we just haven't given them the information that they need. And I agree too with the team aspect. If it's a whole team issue, we have to be like, okay, what's going on and how do we need to fix that? But on the flip side, what does it feel like when morale is really high? And how do you notice that? And how do you harness that?
Yeah, so when morale is high, things seem to be going really well, right? Everybody's excited to come in. We have really great energy. Productivity is happening. There's clear communication happening from one person to the next, and everybody's kind of pulling in the same direction. So it's really a great energy. And as a leader, that's really when I want to say it's really rewarding, because you know that the effort and the time that you've put into creating the right pathways, to creating the right workflows and the structures and making sure you're keeping everybody on the same page is finally all clicking.
Yes.
And how you keep that going is just continuing the communication. I think there's things that you can do to reward the effort. And sometimes it's not always about results. It's sometimes about those leading indicators that you see going into the effort that they're putting in. And even if the results aren't always where you want them in that moment, but everybody's still optimistic and everything's still going well, that then you want to keep those lagging indicators going and you want to reward that effort.
Absolutely. I love when morale is really high here too. I love when we're noticing the little things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And noticing them in a good way. And I love that. And I love when you come in and you're smiling and you're excited to be here and you're excited about the project that you're working on. I know with insurance, this might be a little bit different, but one of the things that I have noticed is sometimes you have the wrong person in the wrong seat, and I don't mean physical seat, I mean in kind of job description.
Right.
And sometimes it's that you might not have a good fit for a specific client and a specific team member.
Mm-hmm.
And then how is that adjusting who's handling what accounts to put staff members with clients that their personalities and style flow together really well.
Yep.
And sometimes it can be as simple, I guess it's not really simple, but can just be that piece that like, what is causing this? And by fixing that, how much lighter and more exciting everything becomes.
Yeah, we've had to do a lot of figuring of that out in my agency. I started my business from ground zero. So I had 0 customers, which is the non-traditional way in the insurance industry. A lot of people take over a book of business when somebody else retires. So for me, it was finding the right team, finding the right people, number one, and then making sure that they were in a role that fits their skills and their talents. And luckily, I feel like we're getting the right mix there. We need one more person. But I think the team that I have, they have done an amazing job. They really are compassionate about taking care of people. And that's the heart of what all I can ask them to do.
Yeah.
So, but you're right. I think when you're in the leader seat, you really have to sometimes take the step back to be able to take a step forward, especially when it comes to morale. And when you've got somebody that's not in alignment with the job description that they're in, you can feel that too.
Right.
And by being able to say, what are your skill sets? What are you passionate about? Or what do you want to be challenged to go do next?
Right.
Has been part of the conversations I've had. And that's been really fun because we've been able to tailor it. And the way that my office is set up is a little bit different than some of my peers, where we have a little bit more specialization of this is something that I'm really passionate about and this is what I want to do in your agency to help with our customers. Yeah. So we'll work to kind of specialize that. And then we tell that to our customers. If you're looking for help in this area, this is the person in our office. And right now we're all female. So I'm like, I've got the woman for you. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun. And I think that has built a lot of good morale in the office because they know that I trust them within that job responsibility while also giving them the framework and guidelines.
I feel like with that too, I mean, we're very similar that we have people that are in specific specialties. And I love that gives you ownership for that part of how the whole team and the whole company operates. You know, you're the one who is kind of heading that area and that's kind of your specialty.
Yep.
And how all those pieces play together, I think is, I don't know. I think that's very cool. So how much of morale do you think falls on leadership?
A lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it falls on the leadership because you're the one that's setting the tone. And you're the one that is responsible for conveying the messages that are important.
Yep.
And at least for me, and in the business that I do, I'm not always the one making all the decisions. It comes from the higher company.
Yeah.
And so
oh, that's true.
There are moments I have to pause and go, the decisions that we're making, how do I feel about that? What am I doing for me to make sure that I'm setting the proper tone for my team?
Yeah.
How am I giving them the space to kind of process the information?
Yeah.
And bring that back to how are we moving forward,
Right.
and giving them some space within whatever's going on. But then, okay, let's regroup and we're going to move forward. And here's how I want us to do that.
Yeah. And
But
really
also make it collaborative.
how you're filtering that information.
Correct.
We say that a lot. And I was like, okay, I've received this information, but how am I choosing to filter this information before going to how the knee-jerk reaction is? Because if I'm doing that, then they're going to do that too, versus we even, post-mortem is what Alicia calls it when we have, because she's from the medical
I love that.
world. And so if you have a job that either wasn't profitable, didn't get finished on schedule, whatever that was, we have really now started to say, okay, number one, is the client happy and did we do the best we can? Yes. And then the second thing is, where did the breakdown happen? And how do we make sure that doesn't happen again, or at least limit it, especially if it's from a profitability standpoint, how do we limit that? And if a client felt for whatever reason that, whatever the reason was, is having that time as leadership to come in and say, hey, we're not going to play a blame game. We're just going to look at it as a whole and say, where could we have communicated better? Where could we have streamlined a process? And, how are we going to make it better for the next person coming in?
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree. And it's that taking that step back as a leadership team, because I think for some people, it's very natural to go, okay, where can I shift the blame? And sometimes it's not where's the blame, but where's the breakdown in the process?
Right.
And how can we fix that? And I think that that's a really good point that you make, because that's really important.
And when you're playing the
leadership.
blame game, what is the goal of that?
Yeah.
Except to I don't know, like just
it never gets you the end result that you're looking for anyway.
Yes, there you go. That exactly. And it's one of those things. Hey, this was not fun for whatever reason, or this caused stress or frustration. How do we fix it?
How do we live and learn?
Yeah. How do we live and learn? How do we do it again differently? How can leaders model the kind of energy and attitude they want to see in their team?
I think you have to create space in your calendar and in your life to kind of get yourself in alignment. If you're not in alignment, you can't lead effectively. And I know that is hard, because sometimes life is lifing, and you have to take that pause, and you have to take that step back and say, how am I showing up today? And who do I want to be for my team? Who do my customers need to see? And where am I at? So I think sometimes it takes a lot of self-reflection. That might be business professional development, going out to local chamber events, or taking the time to be reading a business development book in something that you don't feel as confident in. I think by doing that, it allows you to do some internal reflection, and then to turn that back into the team to be able to show up and stand out and make sure that you're holding the team accountable as well.
I love that. One of the things I was thinking of as you were saying that too, on modeling the kind of energy, that type of piece on that, one of the things we just worked on in the last month or two is created leadership positions within the company. And I had learned like forever ago that one person can only effectively lead 5 people. And so if it's more than that, how are you building leaders from within? And so that way, as the primary leader, however you want to say that, right, that you're not creating the bottleneck. And, as you know, we're not in the office as much, and we need to be doing other things for the business. And like you said, for our own self-care, so that we can keep showing up every day in that leadership position. And it's been really cool to watch our new leaders step into that role and be really excited about it. And then that brings a whole new morale piece, I think, into the puzzle.
Yep. I think that that's fantastic. And as that hierarchy continues to grow within the organization, I think that's something that is a definite value add, is to be able to say, like, look, we're going to provide you that leadership development as well.
Right.
And then, like you said, the trickle down effect is incredible.
It is. We also, that made me think too, our 2 leaders that are moving into those positions are taking the Lancaster Chambers leadership course.
Oh, I love that.
I know. So even that, like, again, look at your chambers, look at the local organizations. What do they have to offer?
Yes.
And invest in your people so that your people can invest in the business and grow. When they're winning, everybody's winning. So yeah, I love that too.
And I think it's sometimes as simple as having a daily meeting in the morning. Set the tone for the day, get the team together, make sure that we're celebrating what should be celebrated, maybe from yesterday, or something they're celebrating coming in to the office that day. And then talk about what's on the agenda. What are things that have to get done today? What's in the pipeline?
Yeah.
Things along those natures. I think setting that tone early in the day is really important. And then just checking in.
Yeah.
Having regular meetings with your employees is really important, whether that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or quarterly. Just setting the tone with them, making sure that they're heard. If they have concerns, they're being addressed. And clearly communicating across the team. And sometimes it's more than just an email. You got to pick up the phone or you got to go talk to the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Being with them.
talking, communication.
Communication.
We were just at the High Center, had their business forum. And one of the speakers there talked about like employee experience and then client experience. And in the employee experience, she showed a model of gave the same questions to these companies and gave the same questions and then pulled leadership and pulled the employees and how differently the answers they selected for priority number 1, 2 of what.
Oh, wow.
How different they were through the lens of leadership and the lens of employee. And the one that stuck out to me the most, which I think really affects morale also, and maybe it's because what we're really working on right now, so it's like in the forefront of my mind, is systems. And what we realized for our business is a system that worked when there were 3 of us, kind of worked when there was 5 of us, sort of worked when there were 7 of us, and as we keep growing, we realize we have to refine that system. We have to maybe split the system in half on who's doing what. But that was on the leadership side on this. They had like systems or technology, I think is what they called it, as like the least important issue, no concerns. And how she shared it was it's because the leaders aren't in the systems day to day. They're out doing all these other things. So for them, the systems are fine, and then when you go back and you ask the team members and they're saying, well, we have to click this thing like 4 different times in 5 different places every time this happens.
Yep.
And then you're like, oh, but the leaders weren't noticing it because they're not the ones utilize, so it was very, very interesting on how that affects morale.
Yep.
Because they're frustrated that the leadership's not seeing that they have to keep doing these redundancies and, all that.
Absolutely.
All
that
that
stuff adds up. Like it's the little things that can make the biggest difference.
Yeah. I mean,
it really is.
So true.
4 extra clicks.
I mean,
multiply that out throughout your day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even simple things. Example, here we have free snacks and free beverages for the staff. The company provides that for them. And I feel like that largely comes from a place that, like, if I'm hangry, like, forget it.
It's not good for anybody.
Yep. So even simple things like that, just having things available, like, looking at how you want your staff to feel and all that great stuff. So do you think that employee appreciation is more about the big gestures or about the small, consistent actions? That's a good question.
It's a great question. And I would hate to say it depends upon the person.
I am so glad you said that.
But it really
I 100% agree with that. 100%.
Yes, I 100% agree with that. And for me, you really have to know who your employees are. So like part of my onboarding process is every single employee, yes, they have to fill out all the really boring mandatory paperwork. But then I have a favorites thing document.
So great. W-9s or whatever.
Yes. Your I-9s, your W-4s,
yes.
your all the things for payroll. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. But I have them fill out a favorites things document.
Oh.
So like, where do you like to shop? What's your favorite kind of drink? Your favorite kind of snack?
Yeah.
What is something, and some of it are like little small things, like what shirt size are you? So that way if I'm going to go out and get you a little shirt, or I'm going to buy the team matching gear, I want to get you the right size. What kind of, activities do you like to do? Do you have a favorite sports team?
Yeah.
I'm not a sportsy person, but I like to know so I can try to keep up. But then
I am one specific sport, one specific team, but keep going.
Yes, there you go. I'm a dance mom, and that's my focus. It's just all dance about my kid right now.
I love that.
So, but then there's other things like, what's a trip that you've never been on that you would love to do? What's something that you love to do for yourself, but you won't spend the money on?
Yeah.
And so that way I can do those consistent small gestures because I have found that has gone miles. Does my team love the big things?
Yes.
Yes. Who doesn't love to go out as a team and have a big fun event?
Yeah.
And do things like that, which we've done. But it's also the consistent daily smaller gestures that I think, and it doesn't have to be daily, but the smaller gestures mean a lot, especially if they're coming from a place of sincerity.
Yeah.
Which is a big component for me, is being very sincere with the appreciation.
I love that. That's a great, and I'm so glad that you answered it with it depends. Because it does depend. And that really goes back to knowing your team, knowing their personalities, knowing, I hate to say their love languages, don't go all like, but their love languages, how they feel important and valued, and what might not make them feel that way. Some people being praised publicly is uncomfortable for them, and other people thrive on that. And knowing that as a leader, so that you, and that all goes back to morale. If you keep giving the wrong recognition the wrong way to the wrong person, they're not feeling it, and they're actually starting to get a little hostile, that you're not doing it right, and doing it the way that they receive it, that they feel it, so it's not really doing the thing, which is also very important. Okay, so what are some practical ways, which you already shared one of this, but what are some practical ways that business owners can show appreciation that don't require a huge budget?
Absolutely. So start with your favorite things document, number one.
That's great. That's such a good idea.
And I've actually, because my office manager has been with me for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
My other employee has been with me for almost 3 years. So I've made them go back and revise that document once a year and say, what's new, what's different, because life changes. We have different goals for ourselves.
Yeah.
Things are going on. So they're like, oh, I'm not eating the junk food anymore. I'm eating the healthy stuff.
Yeah.
Here's something different that I'd like to try. So that's definitely one. The other thing that you can do, very low cost, is take the time to go say thank you and find something specific. It's the you can't just be like, you did a great job today.
Yeah.
Great job on that project.
Yeah.
Woohoo. You have to get very specific of, I saw that you really had to focus on this one piece for them, and I saw the intentionality behind it, and I think it really made a difference.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
Or I saw that you stayed extra because we had a customer who needed to have this policy set up by this certain time, and they were at the dealer. Thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are definitely low cost. There's also great little things. I can't remember the name of them, so I'll have to find it and see if I can share it with you. But they're little cards, and some say thank you, some say you're awesome, and you can write
like
on the
little inspo card,
like a little inspo card. You can write on the back, and then you can leave it on their desk, which I love doing that. Sometimes as a little surprise, and then they can come in, open it up, and there's some kind of inspirational quote on the inside.
Yeah, I love that.
Something small like that, or a little card. It doesn't take a lot of money, but it's something that you can show, or use the favorite things document. Go out and buy them their favorite thing of candy. If you know, like, hey, we had a rough day yesterday.
Yeah.
Let's go do something nice to make sure that we're making it up for them.
Absolutely. I love that. I also love in the same thing is we just had a situation here that we have one team member who's working really intently on a specific project. And in order to get that project and give it 100% of that team member's attention, some other things that are typically their responsibility have not been getting done. But it's because they're prioritizing the thing that needs to get done, right? And so noticing that instead of asking that person or expecting that person to ask for help is to put somebody else on some of those items to take the pressure off.
Absolutely.
And I just recently did that, and the email of appreciation that I got back was you actually noticed and you fixed it for me, and none of it was them not doing their job. It was 100%, I am so focused on this thing. I'm one person. And I think that can go a long way so that people are feeling, that we have their back, and we're all in this as a team.
Absolutely, because that everybody only has so much capacity.
They only have so much capacity.
Being able to be attuned and aware to what's going on within the team, and saying, how can we just help you? How can we step in? How can I help today? That's some days that's the question I just ask. I'm getting ready to leave for the day. Before I go, what else can I do to help you? Or what is something that's outstanding that it's really the monkey on your back that we can help you get off and take care of, and take care of that for you.
I love that. I love that. Can you share a time when you felt really appreciated as an employee? Now, I know you're the employer, but in your journey, have you been the employee?
I have been the employee in a bunch of different businesses. And I would say the most meaningful recognition that I received as an employee was where they were specifically calling out what I did. It didn't matter what they were giving for the recognition part. It was just the fact that you did see what I did. You understand that it took extra effort, and you showed the appreciation verbally. Like
Yeah.
they came to me and said it and they were sincere.
Yeah.
That was always the thing that meant the most to me.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And I think that, again, that personal piece of just noticing and thanking me for it goes so far. And on the same thing, even just having the expectation, which I know that this is true in your office, and we work at this really well too, is coming in ready to help, ready to be a part of the team, and genuinely happy to be here, and creating that culture and that part that you're coming into your place of work with joy and excitement for the projects ahead versus in fear of failure. I feel like those are two very different things, or taking recognition from somebody else who did that, and things like that. Like,
we're really big in like, let's celebrate our individual wins, but let's also celebrate our wins as a team. Because we all contribute and we're all dealing with we're all working with the customers to make sure we're taking care of their needs. And sometimes it's harder than other times. And so making sure that we're taking that moment is always really important.
I love that. Okay. So how do you build appreciation into your culture and not just something you do at holidays or once a year?
I try to make them surprises.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I do like the little thank yous here and there. I won't tell them that they're coming. They won't see it. I like to put those on their desks. But then I also like to do fun things when they're not anticipating it. So, for example, the team has been working really, really hard. We recently moved our office at the end of the year, which was a lot of work.
As
you know.
I know. I'm just thinking about moving us. That would
I have some tips, so let me know. I got some tips.
I'm going to stay here. The floor was expensive.
Yes.
Right.
I don't blame you. And so they've been working really hard, and I'm going away on like a brief couple days away with the family. And so I've arranged for them. It's not a surprise anymore because I told them. But we're having a massage therapist come in and provide them massages during the day while I'm gone.
That's
so like
fun.
Doing fun things like that, or knowing that they want to go on a certain vacation and I have a timeshare. So helping them get connected to cost-effective ways for them to go places. Or if they're on vacation and I know that they're going to a particular restaurant, just paying the bill ahead of time for them. So like some of those different things that show like, even though I'm not right there with you, I'm appreciating you in ways that are meaningful. That's what I love to do.
I love that.
And then we do the fun big things too. Like we did one year, let's all go take the family to Knoebels the day on
that's fun.
Day on the company and have the events with spouses and kids and things like that. So
I love that. Okay, so last question to wrap it up. What is one simple thing that every business owner listening today can start to do this week to improve their morale?
One thing that I would say to start doing is just taking a moment to being present with each employee. So really just taking a moment to check in with each person, because even if that doesn't shift the collective group, it's going to start to shift each individual, and then they all talk, and then it starts from there. So that's what I would say is, if you haven't been present, take the time, go be present with them. Just check in. How are you? What do you need right now? How can we be helping you better?
I love that.
And show that moment of appreciation. And then it will kind of lead into other things.
I think on a different note, but to piggyback on that, is how are you coming into the space? And how are you living in the space? And if you want to fix the culture starts with you. And if you are coming in overwhelmed and a hot mess and rammy, and you want them to have a different experience, that starts with you.
Absolutely.
And I love that. Well, Aubrey, thank you so much for being my guest today. I have loved having you on. And especially if you need any insurance help, definitely reach out to Aubrey at State Farm.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This
Absolutely.
is a fun day. Thank you.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.